a passenger jet spirals out of control and crashes on Jeju Island, while thousands of feet above the Pacific, a U.S. B-52 bomber comes within 300 feet of slamming into a packed airliner. Two disasters, seconds away from turning the sky into chaos. Stay till the end because we're exposing what the airlines don't want you to know, and why your next flight might not be as safe as you think. On December 29, 2024, a very scary plane crash happened in South Korea on Jeju Island. It was a domestic flight by Jeju Air, which is a low-cost airline. The plane was a Boeing 737-800, and it was flying from Seoul's Gimpo Airport to Jeju. Unfortunately, things went terribly wrong while the plane was trying to land. The weather that day was really bad. There were strong winds blowing across the runway, and the visibility was poor because of heavy clouds and mist. This made it extremely difficult for the pilots to land the aircraft properly. According to the reports, the pilot tried to land the plane once but realized it wasn't safe, so they decided to go around and attempt another landing. But while they were preparing for this second attempt, the situation got worse. The plane started to lose control, probably because of the strong crosswinds that were pushing it off balance. People on the ground said they saw the plane coming in at a strange tilted angle before it hit the ground. The plane then skidded off the runway and crashed into a barrier at the edge of the airport. Sadly, 34 people lost their lives in this crash, and many others were injured. It was a horrifying sight, and emergency teams rushed in to help. Authorities are now investigating if wind shear, which is a sudden change in wind speed and direction, played a major role in causing the pilots to lose control. Wind shear is extremely dangerous during takeoffs and landings because it can make an aircraft suddenly drop or tilt, even if the pilots are doing everything right. The black box from the plane, which records all the flight data and cockpit conversations, was found quickly. Investigators listened to the recordings and discovered that the pilots were debating whether to attempt a second go-around just moments before the crash. This has raised serious questions about whether the crew made the right decisions under pressure. Were they too late in deciding to abort the landing? Did they underestimate the power of the crosswinds? These are the questions that investigators are now trying to answer. One of the biggest concerns after the Jeju crash is the age of the airplane. The aircraft involved was a Boeing 737-800, and it was over 22 years old. Now, planes are built to last a long time if they are properly maintained, but as they get older, they require a lot more care and regular inspections. Just like how old cars need more repairs, older planes need thorough checks to make sure they're still safe to fly.
People are now questioning whether Jeju Air, the airline that owned the plane, was doing enough to keep it in top condition. Reports have come out saying that South Korea's aviation authorities had already warned Jeju Air several times in the past about delays in their maintenance schedules. This has now become a major issue as people are wondering if this crash could have been prevented if the plane had been maintained more strictly. Additionally, the Boeing 737-800 model itself has been in the news before for having problems with runway overruns. There have been multiple cases where this aircraft model has slid off the runway, especially in bad weather. Jeju Air's entire maintenance record is now under investigation. Authorities are going through all their inspection reports to see if anything was overlooked. Aviation experts are also pointing out that many budget airlines in Asia rely on older planes to save money. Buying new planes is very expensive, so airlines try to stretch the life of their current fleet. While this makes ticket prices cheaper for passengers, it also means airlines must spend more on regular maintenance to ensure safety. Another major issue with older planes is that they lack modern technology. Newer aircraft have advanced systems that can detect wind shear in real time and warn pilots well in advance. These alerts can give pilots those extra few seconds to react and avoid danger. Unfortunately, older planes like the 737-800 involved in the Jeju crash don't have these advanced warning systems, which puts extra pressure on the pilots to make quick decisions without much help from technology. After COVID-19, air travel has bounced back in a huge way. Airports are busy again, planes are flying all over the world, and people are traveling more than ever. But with this increase in flights, the chances of accidents or close calls have also gone up. In July 2025 alone, there were several dangerous near misses where planes almost crashed into each other. This is really concerning because even though these incidents didn't end in disaster, they show that the sky is getting a lot more crowded, and managing all that air traffic is becoming harder. The Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, in the US reported that there were 47 near-miss incidents in July. These are situations where two planes came too close to each other in the air. Europe also faced problems with 12 cases where military planes accidentally entered civilian airspace. In India, the Directorate General of Civil Aviation reported 5 cases where planes nearly collided on runways due to miscommunication between pilots and air traffic control. Aviation experts are saying that air traffic control systems are not fully prepared to handle this sudden increase in flights. During the pandemic, many ATC staff retired or left their jobs, and now there's a shortage of experienced controllers. On top of that, some radar systems are outdated and can't track aircraft as well
efficiently as newer technologies. This combination of more planes, fewer controllers, and old equipment is a recipe for disaster if not handled properly. Another problem is that the procedures followed by ATC in different countries are not always the same. Some countries have advanced systems that help controllers monitor planes with high precision, while others are still using old methods. This mismatch can create confusion when planes are flying across international borders. Communication errors, small mistakes, or technical glitches can quickly turn into life-threatening situations in such busy airspaces. On July 18th, there was a very close call in the sky that could have ended in disaster. A huge US military plane, a B-52 Stratofortress bomber, came dangerously close to a commercial airliner from Singapore Airlines. The airliner was an Airbus A350, a large passenger plane carrying over 300 people. Both planes were flying over the Pacific Ocean in international airspace. The B-52 was at an altitude of 32,000 feet, while the Singapore Airlines plane was descending to 31,000 feet. That's only a difference of 1,000 feet, which is normal in aviation, but the problem was that these two planes didn't have coordinated flight paths, and neither knew how close they were to each other. The real danger came when the planes unintentionally flew towards each other's paths. The Singapore Airlines plane's TCAS, Traffic Collision Avoidance System, suddenly started beeping, warning the pilots that another aircraft was too close. This system is designed to give pilots immediate instructions like climb or descend to avoid a collision. The pilots reacted quickly and climbed by 500 feet to get out of the way. The B-52 also changed its course after noticing the civilian airliner. Reports say the two planes came as close as 300 feet from each other. That's almost nothing when you're talking about giant aircraft flying at high speeds. This could have ended in a mid-air collision, which would have been catastrophic. The main issue here is that military and civilian planes are supposed to follow strict communication rules to avoid these kinds of situations. The International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, has guidelines that require all planes to coordinate their positions, especially in busy or shared airspaces. But in this case, the B-52 was using encrypted military channels. These are secure frequencies that civilian airliners can't listen to. So the Singapore Airlines pilots had no idea the B-52 was in the area until their collision avoidance system warned them at the last minute. The US Air Force later admitted that there was a breakdown in coordination and announced that they are reviewing their flight protocols to make sure this doesn't happen again. But the scary part is that this isn't a one-time incident. There have been multiple cases where military planes, especially during long-range patrols or training missions, have come too close to civilian commercial airliners. Every time it happens, it's a matter of quick reflexes from pilots that saves the day. One of the reasons why the skies have become more dangerous lately is because of military exercises. In 2025, global tensions are rising, and countries like the US, China, and Russia are holding more military drills, especially in international airspace. These exercises often involve fighter jets, bombers like the B-52, and large naval operations. The problem is, these drills sometimes overlap with civilian air traffic routes, creating risky situations for commercial flights. In July 2025, the US Navy conducted RIMPAC, which is the largest naval exercise in the Pacific Ocean. It involved over 25 countries and hundreds of military aircraft, including B-52 bombers and F-22 fighter jets. During such exercises, certain airspace zones are declared as military operation areas. Airlines are usually informed in advance and told to avoid these zones. But sometimes, these advisories are limited, vague, or sent too late, especially when exercises extend beyond their planned areas. There are also gray zones, in international airspace, where military and civilian flight paths cross. These are areas that are not restricted, but are frequently used by military planes during exercises. Civilian airlines often have to change their routes, which can lead to longer flight times and increased fuel costs. However, not all airlines receive up-to-date information about sudden military activity. This can lead to dangerous situations where a civilian plane unknowingly flies into an area where military jets are conducting maneuvers at high speed. Another problem is that military aircraft, for strategic reasons, sometimes turn off their transponders or use encrypted communication channels. This means that civilian air traffic control and commercial pilots cannot see them on radar or communicate with them directly. When military jets fly close to civilian aircraft without proper coordination, even a small misjudgment can lead to a near miss or worse, a collision. Experts are now saying that there needs to be better coordination between defense departments and aviation authorities. Real-time sharing of military flight paths with civilian air traffic control can help reduce the chances of accidents. Some also suggest that military aircraft should be required to use civilian transponders when flying in shared airspace, even if it's just temporarily during exercises. There's another serious problem in aviation that isn't talked about enough: pilot fatigue. As more people are traveling again, airlines are trying to schedule as many flights as possible to make profits. This means that pilots are being asked to fly more hours, often with very little rest in between flights. It's like being told to work double shifts continuously without proper breaks. Over time, this leads to extreme tiredness and mental exhaustion. For example, in the Jeju Island crash, the crew had reportedly flown over 60 hours that month. The International Civil Aviation Organization, and CAO, has clear rules that pilots should not fly more than 100 hours in a month to ensure they are well rested. However, some airlines find ways around this by resetting duty cycles with short breaks. This is legal on paper, but in reality, it doesn't give pilots enough time to recover properly. Fatigue affects a pilot's ability to concentrate, react quickly, and make sound decisions. It can slow down reflexes, blur judgment, and cause them to miss critical warnings from the aircraft systems. Surveys have shown that around 62% of pilots admit to feeling moderate to severe fatigue during flights. This is a scary number because a tired pilot is much more likely to make mistakes. While modern planes have a lot of automated systems to assist pilots, these systems are not foolproof. Pilots still need to be fully alert to monitor these systems and take manual control when something goes wrong. In high-pressure situations like go-arounds or emergency landings, a split-second delay caused by fatigue can have deadly consequences. Airlines argue that pilot fatigue is under control and that pilots are trained to handle long hours, but the reality is different. Many pilots, especially in budget airlines, are quietly pressured to accept exhausting schedules. They fear losing their job or being replaced if they complain. This toxic culture needs to change. Pilots should be encouraged to report fatigue, and airlines should be held accountable for overworking their crews. To fix this, aviation regulators need to enforce stricter rules on duty hours and make sure airlines cannot exploit loopholes. There should also be mandatory fatigue risk management programs where pilots can report their mental and physical state honestly. Fatigue should be treated as a serious safety hazard, not just a personal problem of the pilot. Even though there have been a lot of scary incidents in aviation lately, it's not all bad news. Technology is getting better, and many new innovations are being introduced to make flying safer. One of the biggest game changers is artificial intelligence, AI. Companies like Airbus and Boeing are working on AI systems that can help pilots during emergencies. These AI co-pilots are designed to assist the human pilot by handling certain tasks automatically, especially in high-pressure situations where human error can happen. One of the most exciting developments is in weather prediction. AI-based systems are now being tested to predict micro-weather patterns like wind shear and sudden turbulence. These are dangerous because they can come out of nowhere and affect the plane's stability, especially during takeoffs and landings. And if you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.